In this bulletin, police ask for support. Works begin at Lekutu School. And Afghan chaos saddens Bush.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Atera Lendua.
Good afternoon, Fiji. The Fiji Police Force is urging members of the public in Boer to support their efforts by adhering to the new measures announced by the Ministry of Health for the Nambowalu area. Police officers are manning 4 checkpoints and monitoring movement into and out of Nambowalu, and this will continue for 14 days. The containment area, as announced, extends from Raralewidake to Wainisebu and along the coast of Nambowalu village. The 2 checkpoints maintained in the containment zone are opposite the Nambowalu market, controlling movement into the main road, and at Raralewidake past Nambowalu village towards Wainunu. 2 more checkpoints are outside of the containment zone, and they act as buffer points where decontamination of vehicles is carried out when entering and exiting the area. Movement into and out of the containment area is restricted to essential services and access to groceries and post office services. Yesterday, the new Divisional Police Commissioner North, SSP Tomasi Bulimaimbao, visited the checkpoints to check on the operation conducted by his officers on the ground. The Fiji Police Force has managed to continue its function and operation despite 672 personnel having been infected by COVID-19. Minister for Defence and National Security, Inia Seriratu, says 544 have recovered. However, there are a few cases currently in home isolation. He adds that around 128 active cases are still in the force. Seriratu says because of the extra responsibilities, the force has had to re-look at ways to do things and work smarter.
We are in an exposed environment. But I also wish to say, Mr. Speaker, said that because members of the force were affected, most of them had their family members affected as well. And that's logical. And of course, I think it's consistent with all the other cases as well.
The Ministry of Education, together with the Australian government, are now ready to commence work for a permanent rebuild of destroyed buildings at Lekutu Secondary School. The Australian government, through its Departments of Foreign Affairs and Defence, will build 2 concrete classroom blocks consisting of 3 classrooms each. Australian Defence Force officers are currently under quarantine and will complete isolation over the coming weeks. Work is planned to commence this month till November 2021. Following this, the personnel will be redeployed in 2022 to complete all other works as per the project scheduled. Minister for Education Rosie Akbar says the permanent structures would be constructed to withstand Category 5 cyclones, as our government believes in building back better. Akbar acknowledged the Australian government for providing support towards education and our schools' rebuilding phase. Young people are making sacrifices to ensure that they can financially support themselves and their families during this difficult time. While some have lost their jobs, life is still challenging for those who remain employed. These employed individuals are concerned for their friends who have been unemployed and are facing mental health issues coupled with financial constraints. Young people on the front line are taking fear head on in order to do what's to be done to get the pandemic under control.
It has been difficult working in this pandemic because I'm a healthcare worker and it's sad actually. Basically, I would just like this pandemic to end.
Over 1,000 people on Rotuma Island have been flocking to vaccination centres for the past few days to receive their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. District Officer Watia Vasudha says they've reached 83% of the targeted population who have received their first dose since the starting of the vaccination campaign last week. With the ongoing vaccination campaign on Rotuma, the district officer is optimistic that the 100 first dose target will be achieved by Friday. He adds health officials are now visiting communities targeting the elderly who are unable to turn up to vaccination venues.
Carry out this awareness, especially to our elderly. The information of this vaccine.
Former U.S. President George W. Bush and his wife Laura Bush have written in a letter they were saddened by events in Afghanistan. This is 20 years after the commander-in-chief ordered American troops to invade the country. And to our latest COVID-19 update for today. Fiji recorded 590 new COVID-19 infections for the period ending at 8 a.m. yesterday. 420 cases are from the Western Division and 170 are from the Central. The Ministry of Health also recorded 11 new COVID-19 deaths for the period of August 13th to the 15th. 5 deaths were from the Central Division and 6 deaths were from the Western. Fiji has recorded 41,107 cases since April this year. There are now 21,754 active cases in isolation, with 18,795 recoveries in total. The COVID-19 death toll now stands at 405. The vaccination campaign also continues around the country. As of yesterday, 535,844 or 91.3% of the population have received their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. 216,494 or 36.9% have received their second dose. The 5 most vaccinated areas include Ba, Rewa, Nadroga and Naitasiri, which are now 100% first jabbed, and next is Nandi. Up ahead, Takaya to lead by example. And Commonwealth Games next for Team Fiji. Stay with us. Welcome back. Olympian Tevita Takaya wants to be a great role model to young judokas in Fiji. After his debut at the Tokyo Olympics, being the lone judoka representing Fiji, Takaya believes he has a huge responsibility. The 25-year-old says he has a duty to lead by example as an Olympian. Takaya says he has learned a lot from Tokyo, going against some of the world's greatest.
I have to always lead by example, showing that I know that I'm not in Fiji, but I have to show on my social media platforms that I'm training and always active, so that the other judokas in Fiji could see that and do something about that.
The Commonwealth Games is next on the charts for Team Fiji, and plans are ongoing to meet the criteria. The Association of Sports and National Olympic Committee Chief Executive Lorraine Ma says since the travel costs will be costly, they will maintain their strict criteria for teams to qualify. Ma says the men's sevens team have qualified, but they're yet to confirm a spot for the women's sevens team after their bronze medal win. Ma adds the pending team sports that are yet to confirm availability are hockey, badminton, weightlifting, and a few others.
Everything's gone out to all the sports, and it's now looking at the timelines involved, as to, because the games are in Birmingham, it's going to be quite an expensive exercise to get there.
Lionel Messi watched on from the stands as Paris Saint-Germain made hard work of beating Strasbourg 4-2 in Ligue 1 to continue their winning start to the new season. Not yet fully fit, Messi, along with Neymar and fellow new recruits Gianluigi Donnarumma and Sergio Ramos, did not make the match squad. Cloudy periods with brief showers over the southeastern parts and the interior of the large islands. That's FBC News Now. Join us again for our 1-hour major bulletin at 7 p.m. And be sure to download the FBC app to access the latest in news and sports and listen to our live radio broadcasts from any of our 6 FBC radio stations. Stay safe and good afternoon.